I've had a good life. I want to say that first. A house paid off, a pension that actually shows up every month, a car that runs. By most counts, I did the things you're supposed to do. But there's something nobody told me, something I had to reach 77 years old to finally understand. And when it hit me, it didn't feel like wisdom. It felt more like grief, because you can't go back. I've been to a lot of funerals, more than I ever thought I would. Old neighbors, friends I grew up with, a brother. And then there was Gerald. Gerald was one of the sharpest men I ever knew. Built a real estate portfolio most people only dream about. Properties in 3 states, a business that ran without him in the room. By 61, he had the kind of wealth that makes other men go quiet when you mention his name. He also hadn't seen a doctor in 11 years, not because he couldn't afford it. He could afford the best doctors in the country. He just kept saying he felt fine, said he was too busy, said he'd go after the next deal closed. The next deal closed. Then there was another one. Gerald died at 63. Colon cancer, caught so late there was almost nothing to do. The doctors told his wife that if he had come in 3, maybe 4 years earlier, the conversation would have been completely different. All that wealth, all those properties sitting there, still generating income the week of his funeral, and not one of them could buy him more time. That was the first time it really hit me. Not as a thought, but as something I felt in my chest. The things we spend our whole lives building cannot save us from the things we keep ignoring. Gerald's estate is still being managed today. His money outlived him by years. But Gerald is gone, and I noticed something strange. At almost every one of those funerals, the same kind of story got told. Not about money, not about what the man owned or built or earned. The stories people told were always about a moment, a conversation, a time he showed up when he didn't have to. Nobody stood at a podium and talked about the second property. Nobody cried over the investment account. It started to gnaw at me, because I had spent most of my working life doing the opposite of what those eulogies were describing. I grew up with almost nothing. My father worked 2 jobs and still struggled. We moved 3 times before I finished school because of money. So by the time I was old enough to earn my own living, I had one goal and one goal only. I was never going to be that worried again. I wasn't cold about it. I wasn't a bad person, but I was focused. And when a man is that focused on one thing, he tends to go blind to everything else. I bought my first piece of property when I was 31. Small place, needed work, but it was mine. Then another one at 39. I kept telling myself I was building something. Security, a future, something solid that couldn't disappear on me the way everything had when I was a kid. And here's what I didn't understand then. Property doesn't get sick and need you to sit with it. An investment account doesn't call you on a Tuesday for no reason, just to talk. A paid-off house does not show up at your door the night your wife leaves. It doesn't sit across the kitchen table from you. It doesn't know your name. I'm not saying don't save your money. I'm 77, not stupid, but there's a difference between building security and building a life. And I confused those 2 things for so long that by the time I figured out the difference, some of the people I should have been building with were already gone. My oldest son. We were not close for a long time, years, and it wasn't some dramatic falling out. Nothing happened. That's almost worse. We just slowly became strangers because I was always busy, always working toward the next thing. And he stopped trying to reach me, and I told myself he was fine, he was grown, he had his own life. He was 43 years old before we actually talked. Really talked. And I don't mean that as a figure of speech. I mean, we sat down and said the things we had never said, and it took half a day. I will tell you this, that one afternoon was worth more to me than every piece of property I ever bought. And I almost never had it. There was a man I worked with named Curtis. Curtis was the kind of person who made a room feel different when he walked in. Not loud, just warm. He remembered things about you. He asked about your kids by name. He showed up to things. I used to think Curtis wasn't serious enough, didn't have the hunger. He wasn't building the way I was building. Curtis died at 68. Heart attack, quick! And at his funeral, I sat in the back of that church and watched 300 people come through the door. 300. People he had known from every chapter of his life. People who drove hours to be there. I sat there thinking about my own funeral, thinking about who would come, thinking about what they would say. And I realized I had been working my whole life to accumulate things that would not be at my funeral. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that money doesn't matter, because it does. I know what it's like to not have it, and I never want to go back there. But I spent decades building walls out of property and savings because I was afraid. And fear is a terrible architect. What I understand now, and didn't understand until very recently, is that the only things that hold you up at the end of your life are the people you were genuinely present for. The calls you made, the times you sat with someone in a hard season and didn't rush to get somewhere else. My daughter used to say I was always somewhere else even when I was in the room. She said it laughing, but she meant it, and she was right. I'm different now. I don't know if that makes up for the years I wasn't. I hope it helps. About 3 years ago, I started doing something I never did before. I call people, not for a reason, no business, no agenda. I just call my son, my daughter, an old friend I hadn't talked to in years, a man I used to fish with before we both got too busy to fish. Some of those calls were awkward at first, a little rusty, but almost every one of them turned into something real within about 10 minutes, because people are hungry for it, and I think I was hungry for it too. I just spent 40 years telling myself I wasn't. Here's what I know now at 77 that I didn't know at 35. Your house will not hold your hand. Your rental income will not remember your voice after you're gone. Your portfolio, no matter how carefully you managed it, will not sit at a graveside and feel the weight of losing you. People will. People do. And the only way to have that, the only way to earn that, is to be present for them long before you need them to be present for you. I built a lot of things in my life, a lot of things I'm proud of, but the only things I don't regret are the investments I made in people. Those are the only ones that ever came back to me.